I don't know if they have like a reunite focus after this. I would imagine they probably do. So the more troops I send out, the more experience I get. So we'll go ahead and send you one. Lingguang Clique might not be the worst. I mean, Nanjing was the one that I really should have tried to defend. I don't think I had the troops for it at the time, though. At the moment, I'm just trying to maintain a safe perimeter around Madrid. Okay, how are you looking? You are still regaining your organization. You are under attack. The Venetian revolt. With the recent electoral victory of the right-wing and vehemently anti-Austrian ANI party in the Italian Republic, there's been open sedition in the Veneto region by the moderates opposed to the new government. Many regional rebels are openly calling for the restoration of the Serene Republic of Venice, the famous state that was conquered in the Revolutionary Wars and ruled alternatively by France, Austria and Italy ever since. And you need to take that one back again. Declared war on Venice, right. I mean, Venice. I want to defend Venice because I want to see Venice win this. And then see what happens to them after. Venice is under Austrian influence at the moment. I can send a volunteer though. Let's do it. Sweden's being super internationalist at the moment. Complete opposite to real life. Ah dear. Sao Paulo have arrived. Good. As the leader of the Baratia Commune's Maximist faction and his recently elected head of state, Sobras John de Bose gave a fiery speech to the electrified crowd in Calcutta today, promising that his new totalist government would do whatever it took to deal a death blow to the colonial lapdogs of the Northern Dominion of India and the decadent oppressors of Western Princely Federation. Alright, so the Paulista volunteers, you can march on Rio de Janeiro. Let's get you a general. Douglas? Although he's very much a cavalry guy. You start as an engineer, which is pretty nice. Let's go with Ivar. Mark Leek declared on Tibet. One I don't really care about, particularly because of supply issues. Don Bassos! Hey, Mordred and people, how are you all doing? How is Sweden doing? Sweden is alive. Nothing bad has happened to Sweden. Absolutely nothing has ever gone bad for Sweden. That was just a bad dream, which you shouldn't ever need to worry about. Everything is fine. See, we're still alive. Nothing bad has ever happened to Sweden, okay? Which political side have we chosen? We are market liberal. Or we will be market liberal once we actually start the political tree. I'm not changing that. War between Hu and the Buddhists. The tensions between Yon Shu and the Marklik and Tibet has exploded once again in the northwest. This comes after months of instability in both the intelligentsia that... Wow, I completely misread that, because incidents and belligerence look like intelligence. In both belligerents, they could only be resolved by a common external enemy. Incidents over the past half-decade, such as the Golok massacre, the Jining Council feud, and the rumours the next Dalai Lama living in Yushu have preceded this latest war. Russia took 11 states, Donkoban Union has been destroyed. And Rio de Janeiro has also fallen. We may as well just continue our march along the coast, just to make sure that as much of this land is secured as is possible. Mustafa Kemal seizes power, fed up by the constant bickering in the Ottoman Chamber of Deputies and hindered by a conservative and often royalist opposition. The Grand Vizier has used domestic events to centralise power around the position of the Grand Vizier. The Maintenance of Public Order Decree issued in times of great crisis has already led to the creation of various tribunals to sentence the enemies of the state and to safeguard the Ottoman state. Although many question the true motives of the man, it is clear that he enjoys nigh full support by the military apparatus, greatly limiting the chances of successful counter-coup. Is this a return to 1913? The Venetians have arrived. Rondon's revolt triumphant. The Republic stands strong and victorious in Brazil, as Candido Rondon's daring revolt against the integralist government resulted in large-scale conflict. The defeat of that government as various states joined the Republican uprising and divided the already overstretched military. Rondon, under cheers from his fellow Republicans, is now thrust into provisionary presidency, a role he certainly never wanted. But he has vowed to hold elections as scheduled, not only to take any radical measures. Many speculate the old man will finally retire, the great revolutionary fought across Brazil being his final adventure. Brazil's democracy gets a second chance. You're welcome, Brazil. And yes, they did get a new focus tree. Remember who won, okay? Remember who helped you. Ooh, Sophia's under threat. Are we going to be able to take out the Greeks quickly enough? I don't know. Meanwhile, in Venice, I think you basically just need to hold Venice. I also need to give you a general. The guy that just successfully came back from Brazil, which was Blackland. Yeah, you guys focus on killing him. I'll help you defend Venice. Ooh, if you gave me some support here, we could do this. Then again, let's support you on that attack. Centralized industry, good. That's way ahead of time. Could get radios. Grab the flexible rail networks just so we can get the extra construction speed when we do decide to build those. And our volunteers have returned home. Well done, chaps. Oh dear, we've lost Venice already. Well, that went well. At least we didn't lose our soldiers. Quickest civil war ever. Well, those two German tanks are doing some serious work. I'm just going to stick in Madrid and make sure we don't lose that. The Helvetic Commune has joined the Third Internationale. Following the syndicalist revolution in Switzerland, the temporary government has decided to join the Third Internationale, formalising the already close relations between the Commune of France and the Helvetic Commune. Is our infantry equipment up to date? Yes. In fact, we could do with upgrading some more. Let's make sure that happens. Oh, you could get offensive or defensive doctrine. Considering your traits, let's go with defensive. You're already defensive. That's kind of annoying. You'd be a really good offensive commander. Alright. Noted. Military Production Act. There we go. We've just got a bunch more factories. So let's go ahead and get the State Industry Fund and then the Trelleborg's Gummifabriks and then we'll go down for the research slots. We should set up a fund from state origins to expand our industrial capacity in order to support a war, lest we are unable to properly defend the nation as a result of being left behind. Now, we were getting 6 factory slots here, now we get 7. And we were getting 3, and now we get 4. Developed rural region, sprawling urban region. So what's like London? It doesn't even tell us. Oslo? Urban, developed, rural, sparse, urban, rural, developed, rural, developing rural, wasteland. Huh. Okie dokie. Oh, we're winning. We're actually going to cut them in half, except reinforcements are coming. Are they going to get there in time, though, is the question. Yes. Annoyingly. Anyway, we have some new factories, so let's make sure we continue to work on this. We have a lot of new factories, in fact, wow. I would definitely like to be producing artillery, AA, considering our weaknesses last time. And I think eventually we want support and motorized, but right now this looks like a decent setup. Carry on. I don't really have the oil for motorized yet. We will, but we don't have it yet. Let's go and take this railroad from them. Russia took 7 states. The fall of Santiago. After a long and grueling campaign fighting all across the Andes Mountains, the Argentinian flag flies proudly over La Monde Palace. The fighting was intense throughout the city's streets. On the famous Almeida Avenue and the Paseo a la Muda, with the Chilean forces offering intense resistance. However, the Argentines could eliminate the Chilean resistance in the city, and those that survived eagerly offered their surrender to the victorious Argentine army. I mean, it's one of the very few crossings, so not that surprising. I was hoping you'd assist me before they start to get their organisation back. Okay, we're good. In fact, you know what? No! Don't stop! Ireland has joined the Reichspakt. Due to British provocation, Ireland has joined the Reichspakt, hoping the Kaiser can protect them against the syndicalist machinations. Let us indeed hope so. Kingdom of Spain took 7 states. Carlist Spain have been annexed. That's really good, because now those German tanks can be turned against the syndicalists. And in fact, those tanks are in serious danger of encirclement. Right, let's see if we can do a cut in half here towards Valencia. Let's do some planning prep. Let's have you stop and do some planning prep. And you... honestly, just assist in the attack here. He's going to arrive too late. Because he only just left. Puerto Rico declares independence. With the advent of the Second American Civil War, not only was the vast American mainland thrown into chaos, but the nation's numerous overseas possessions were as well. Today, the small Caribbean island of Puerto Rico, won in the Spanish-American War, officially slipped from Uncle Sam's grasp as the new nation signed the Puerto Rican Declaration of Independence, directed against the United States. To many, this turn of events was inevitable. Nationalists already forced Blantonsi Winslip, the appointed locally unpopular governor, to resign in favour of a broad coalition of leading nationalist figures and parties. The Union of Puerto Rico, now that the coalition's goal has been achieved, however, it seems that its members have gone their own way and called for new elections to decide who will lead the world's youngest country. Puerto Rico being... that. Do they have a focus tree? Because of course they do. wonder whose side they can join. They're very good at building convoys and protecting them. The shining jewel of the Caribbean. Do I take noob questions? Sure. What do you got for me? Can I put tanks to help my infantry? If I had the industry for it, sure. I definitely don't have the industry for tanks. This is Kaiserreich, not the Paradox Dev team. Everyone gets a focus tree. Ah, speaking of focus trees, we can also get a new upgrade, which I think is going to be a political advisor. Last time... I forgot how difficult a decision this is. More max volunteers. Construction speed and political power sounds really strong. We'll probably eventually replace you with something else. Ruling party is social conservative. We would actually lose him if we went market liberal. But we can keep him for the time being. Let's go with the construction speed. We're still trying to build up Sweden here. Sweden. Speaking of which, how's the infrastructure going? It's going. And now that we have the ability to build more civilian factories, I think I'm just going to go ahead and focus that in Svealand. As we have the full bonus and we are already on partial mobilization, which means no penalty for civilian factories anymore. So we definitely want to be interspersing those where possible. Yes! Cut-off achieved! You're welcome, AUS. You're welcome. So the United States is just a matter of time before they're dead. We just need to try to capture as much of this as we can before the CSA does. Oh! And the Greeks are wasting their efforts attacking us. Oh, this is fantastic. That's going to be a very, very hard ask. Unfortunately, we actually did get Corfu. With just our 2 divisions, I'm not entirely convinced that this is going to be entirely possible. We can try. And you probably want to be focusing on that kind of direction, but we'll keep you where you are for now. Oh wow, Madrid's miles back. Let's have you, because here's the German tanks. Help out in their attacking. Austrian Empire took 15 states, Hungary have been annexed. Russia took 2 states, Kiev has been annexed. And there's the State Industry Fund. Do I want the 2 synthetic refineries right now? Or do I want my research slot? I think I probably want my research slot. We could enhance our technology by forming a commission of scientists under the chairmanship of the mathematician and the professor Arne Boring of the University of Uppsala. His knowledge of deciphering could be key in the confrontation by either military or clandestine means. And this would give us a research bonus for electronics, which would be computing upgrades. We could relocate and push against, because holding this position would be pretty easy now. Yeah, you know what? Let's do that. Let's go and bolster Sofia, first of all. And then see if we can push these guys back to the river. Yeah, well, not a bad shout. Not a bad shout. Just realised we're back into the original 3 fights now. And now we're getting some tank support. Things are going a little bit easier. Thanks, Germany. Insulindia declared war on the Dutch East Indies. Now, the Netherlands is very likely to stay friendly to us. So I feel like we want to send some troops to Batavia. So off we go. Meanwhile, these guys are ready to deploy. Send them to Småland. And train. The Insulindian National Revolution. Insulindia is one of the oldest European colonies, coming under the rule of the Dutch government in 1800 and the rule of the Dutch East India Company far earlier. This state of affairs may not last much longer, however, as amid a background of growing instability and anger against the Dutch colonial overlords, Sukarno, one of the most influential figures in the Insulindian independence movement, led an armed uprising to drive out colonial forces and declared the beginning of the Insulindian National Revolution. Delarius, thank you very much for the subscription. Very much appreciate the ongoing support there. Thank you. So, playing as the UK, I have a ton of shipping lanes all over the place. My convoys are sinking rapidly. Try to check the naval map and place destroyers there, groups of 20, but these fleets often encounter stronger enemy fleets and get wrecked. I only have 2 battle fleets, they can't be everywhere. I can't place naval bombers everywhere. If I want other equipment, I can't produce a lot. How do I stem the bleed? Thanks. You say that you're placing destroyers. How are you placing them? Because just selecting ships, then putting them in the spot is not how you do it. You use these, which are their missions. And for the convoys, you want to make sure that they're on convoy escort. So if you have a fleet of mostly destroyers, so this is actually a recon fleet, but we'll pretend it's convoy, you can just queue them up. And you want to make sure that your convoys are task forces of 10 to 20. And then just keep building more of those until you hit your fleet limit, which is 10 task forces. And then you set up another set. Then if you're coming across big fleets that you need to fight, you're going to need some recon. So you want to make sure you have some fleets on patrol. Now these can be usually task forces of 2 to 3 light cruisers. Light cruisers are by far and away the best recon. And you want to make sure you have 1 task force per region you are spotting. Because one task force can only be in one place at a time. So with my 1 task force here, I could only do the Southern Baltic. Then finally, once you have your recon set up, you want to make sure you have strike forces. These are your big fleets. So as the UK, you probably want to have 2 to 3 big fleets, usually centered around carriers. You don't want to have more than 3 to 4 carriers. I think 3 is the limit, unless you're Japan. And then strike forces, you basically just want to have your strike forces wherever your recon are. So what will happen is your destroyers will do the convoy escort. As long as you have 100% destroyer screening in front of your convoys, you will never lose a convoy because submarines will not be able to sink them. Screening and torpedo hit chance are directly linked. If you have 100% screening, they have a 0% torpedo hit chance. If you have a 50% screening, they have a 50% torpedo hit. If you have 0 screens, they have a 100% chance to hit. So yeah, making sure that your ships are on the right missions and that they are in the right places is the way to win naval wars. And then the other thing is, how do you build your destroyers? So there are, and this is going to look different to you because I'm not playing with vanilla. You want to make sure that you have these 4 technologies. Sorry, these 4. 5, I can count. 5 technologies. So you want to make sure you have smoke generators, passive sonar, basic depth charges, active sonar, depth charge thrower, and then preferably 1936 destroyers if possible. And then make sure that your destroyers are using at least 1 set of the tier 2 depth charges, and then also don't have sonar researched, but also the sonar. Level 2. But the important thing is just to have 100% screening efficiency. Because as long as you have that, it doesn't really matter if you're sinking the submarines or not. You're screening your convoys, they're not going to get sunk. Anyway, I know that my tea is boiled, so I'm just going to go and grab a refill. How long till my laundry's done? 20 minutes. Good. Back in a second.